At the start of school on August 15, 2012, the high school came to life with the students trickling into the school for the first day assembly. During the assembly, the new staff members were introduced. Candace Hettinger, the high school secretary, Kyle Roebuck, the physical education coach. Mr. Doolin and Ms. Shipman discussed the new roles and gave a few words of encouragement for the new school year. With the closing of the assembly, students met with their class sponsors and voted on their officers for the new year. The Math and Science Club took their first trip to Thousand Hills State Park on August 18, 2012. During the trip, the students heard from Megan Duffy, a college graduate from Missouri State University in Springfield, Missouri. Megan is one of the 5 women who are licensed to hunt with raptors. During her presentation, she showed off a kestrel and falcon. Math and Science Club enjoyed their trip and will be taking additional trips later this year. With the start of school, the baseball and softball teams are busy with practices to obtain the required number of practices to play in their first game. This year, Brashear has 13 boys on the baseball team and 18 girls on the softball team. The team's first game is quickly approaching. Their first game will be this Friday, August 24, 2012, against Lynn County. Congratulations to the Student Council President David Walker and Vice President Sam Smith. The Brashear Lady Tigers played their first game on Friday, August 24, 2012 against the Lynn County Lady Mustangs. Brashear was in the lead 4-0 at the end of the second inning, only to lose their lead in the third inning to 5 runs. The final score was 6-5, the Lynn County Mustangs taking the win home. The Brashear Lady Tigers played in the Atlanta Softball Tournament, August 25, 2012. The Tigers played against 3 teams, their first opponent being the La Plata Lady Bulldogs. The Tigers led 2-1 at the end of the first inning, but didn't score again until the 6th inning. The Bulldogs scored 7 runs in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 5th, and 6th innings, taking the win at 8-3. Brashear's second opponent were the Novinger Lady Wildcats. Brashear led 5-0 in the first 3 innings, but the Novinger came back in the 4th inning, scoring 7 runs. Brashear had 1 run in the 4th inning, but fell short, losing to Novinger 7-6.
Brashear Band has been practicing and preparing for the band season. There are 21 members in the band and 7 color guard girls. The band will be performing in Edina Corn Fest this Saturday, September 8, 2012. The parade is around Edina Square at 9 a.m. This year, the last 15 minutes of school has been devoted to Tiger Time. The student body has been split into 7 houses. Thursday, September 6th, Miss Reese's house challenged the other houses to an unbreakable chain hula hoop contest. 2 of the houses tied and competed for the win. Miss Hazen and Miss Reese's house won the challenge.
Brashear Lady Tigers traveled to Novinger to play the Novinger Lady Wildcats on Tuesday, September 4th, 2012. Brashear scored 2 runs during the first inning, leading 2-1. At the end of the 4th inning, Novinger led 9-2, but the 5th inning was Brashear's moment to shine. Shelby Salter brought in 2 RBIs and scored herself. Brashear was in the lead 10-9. This boosted Brashear's confidence, and Brashear's defense held strong. Novinger didn't score another run. Brashear, however, scored 1 in the 6th inning and 5 runs in the 7th. Brashear won 16-9.
On Tuesday, September 4th, the Brashear Tigers traveled to Novinger. Brashear scored 2 runs during the 2nd and 3rd innings. Novinger had 2 explosive innings where they scored 6 runs during both the 1st and 4th innings. Brashear held strong, but Novinger managed to score 14 runs during the game. Brashear had lost to the Novinger Wildcats 14-2. Nick Bradshaw and Curtis Blakely had the 2 runs in the game.
Last Friday, Brashear held their first Renaissance breakfast. There were 7 gold card holders, 29 silver, and 15 bronze. These members were served biscuits and gravy for their hard work before first hour began. September 8th, the band performed at Knox County Corn Fest, and their upcoming performances are September 29th in Rolla, Missouri. Canton Lady Tigers came to Brashear for their varsity, junior varsity softball doubleheader Thursday, September 6, 2012. Canton went quietly in the first inning, but Brashear got on board when Ashley Moncrief reached on an error and Shelby Salter brought her home with an RBI triple. Canton answered with a pair of runs in the top of the 2nd to take the lead 2-1, but Brashear answered with 3 in the 2nd, 3 in the 3rd, and 1 run in the 5th inning to claim a win of 8-3. Shelby Salter went 3 for 4, and Mandy Taylor and Angela McKim were both 2 for 3 for Brashear. Sydney Sykes, Audrey Ruby, and Ashley Moncrief also had hits for Brashear. Alexa Acton picked up the win for Brashear, limiting Canton to 4 runs. The Canton junior varsity team defeated Brashear's junior varsity team 8-4. The Brashear Tigers visited La Plata Friday night for a conference baseball and softball doubleheader. In the softball game, La Plata led 1-0 after the first inning, but Brashear capitalized on La Plata's errors to post 5 runs in the top of the 2nd. La Plata answered with a run in the bottom of the 2nd and trailed 7-2 at that point. La Plata's big inning came in the 4th as they scored 4 runs to pull within 7-6. But Brashear held La Plata scoreless after the 4th to claim 8-6 conference win. Shelby Salter went 3 for 4 for Brashear. Mandy Taylor and Allie Garrett were 2 for 4, with Meredith Thomas also having a hit. During the baseball game, Brashear's defense was strong, but in the 2nd inning, La Plata scored 5 runs. In the 3rd and 4th innings, La Plata was held back by Brashear, but still held the lead 5-1. Hayden Hasman scored for Brashear in the 4th inning. However, La Plata scored 4 runs in the 5th inning and 2 runs in the 6th inning, taking the win 11-1. Hayden Hasman and Nick Bradshaw had the hits for Brashear.
The visiting Lady Tigers from Brashear scored off against the host Lady Tigers in Memphis Monday, September 10, 2012. Scotland County scored 3 runs in the first inning, once in the second and again in the third to lead 5-0. Brashear's Meredith Thomas singled to lead off the top of the fourth, then 2 batters later, Shelby Salter homered over the left field fence to make the score 5-2. Scotland County answered with 3 runs in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, and 1 in the sixth as they cruised to an 11-2 win. For Brashear, Shelby Salter homered, Mandy Taylor doubled, and Meredith Thomas singled. Alexa Acton got the start for Brashear with Audrey DeBee pitching in relief. The Scotland County JV team defeated Brashear JV 8-4. Brashear and Atlanta played a Tri-County Conference baseball-softball doubleheader Tuesday night in Brashear. Atlanta got on the scoreboard in the top of the first as Katie Baker singled and scored. Brashear didn't take long to answer as Meredith Thomas hit the first pitch in the bottom of the first into right center to reach second base. Ashley Moncrief laid down a sacrifice bunt on the second pitch of the inning, allowing Thomas to race home from second to even the score at 1-1. Thomas gave Brashear a 2-1 lead in the top of the fourth with an inside-the-park homer, but Atlanta scored in the top of the fourth to tie the game at 2-2. Brashear opened up a 10-2 lead in the fifth as Angela McKim reached on an error. Meredith Thomas singled, Alexa Acton singled, Shelby Salter singled, Mandy Taylor doubled, Allie Garrett singled, and Angela McKim singled. Atlanta answered with 4 runs in the sixth, but Brashear added 3 more to win 13-6. Meredith Thomas homered for Brashear, Mandy Taylor doubled with Alexa Acton, Shelby Salter, Allie Garrett, Sydney Sykes, Angela McKim, and Audrey DeBee also having hits. For Atlanta, Dunham tripled with Sam Reed, Katie Baker, Isis Reed, Ashlyn Ross, and Lexi Dysart also having hits. Alexa Acton picked up the win for Brashear, striking out 5. Sam Reed took the loss for Atlanta. In the baseball game, Atlanta scored 1 run in the first, but Brashear answered with a pair of runs on the bottom of the frame as Gabe Thomas and Nick Bradshaw both singled and scored. Atlanta retook the lead 3-2 with a pair of runs in the second, but Brashear tied the game 3-3 with a run on the bottom of the second. From that point on, it was all Atlanta as the Hornets scored 7 runs in the third on their way to a 16-3 win. For Brashear, Nick Bradshaw was 2 for 3 with Hayden Hausman, Gabe Thomas, and Blake Flum also having hits. Nick Bradshaw and Hayden Hausen pitched for Brashear with Marty Haley getting the start for Atlanta.
Tuesday, September 18th, Brashear had our annual picture day. Interstate Studios came to take the students' photos.
Thursday was another house challenge during Tiger Time. Members of the 7 houses met in the gym during Tiger Time in order to have a contest doing the human knot.
The Brashear Lady Tigers hosted the Green City Gophers for a Tri-Rivers Conference softball game Friday, September 14th. Green City got on the scoreboard with a pair of runs in the top of the first, but Brashear answered in the bottom of the frame, taking a 3-2 lead. Brashear would never relinquish that lead, adding a run in the third, 3 in the fourth, and 3 in the fifth, as they cruised to a 10-2 win. Meredith Thomas, Alexa Acton both tripled for Brashear, and Audrey DeBee doubled. Thomas was 3-4, Acton was 2-3, as was DeBee and Cindy Sykes. Ashley Moncrief, Shelby Salter, Mandy Taylor, and Allie Garrett also had hits. Alexa Acton picked up the win for Brashear, going 6 innings and striking out 7. Audrey DeBee pitched 1 inning of relief. The baseball game was a nail-biter as Green City took a 2-0 lead in the first, only to see Brashear answer to take a 3-2 lead only after 1 inning. Green City scored 3 times in the second to lead 5-3, but Brashear answered with a pair of runs to knot the game at 5-5 after 2 innings. The score wouldn't change until Brashear scored a run in the bottom of the fifth as Sam Smith drew a base on balls and came around to score on a series of bad throws and steal attempts. The Tigers held Green City scoreless the final 2 innings to win 6-5. For Bashir, Hayden Hausman went 3 for 4, with Gabe Thomas and Curtis Blakely going 2 for 4. Hayden Hausman got the start for Bashir, with Nick Bradshaw pitching 4 innings of no-hit ball for the win. The Bashir Tigers traveled to Buckland to play the Buckland-Macon County Co-op team Tuesday night. The Lady Tigers jumped out to a quick 4-2 lead in the first inning, then added 5 in the second, 5 in the third, and 5 in the fourth to claim a 19-2 conference win. Audrey DeBee went 2 for 3 for Bashir with a triple and a single, with Meredith Thomas, Ashley Moncrief, Abby Hall, Alexa Acton, Mandy Taylor, and Allie Garrett also having hits. Alexa Acton picked up the win for Bashir, giving up 1 hit and striking 7. The boys' game was a more closely contested affair. Bashir got on the scoreboard in the first as Nick Bradshaw hit a 3-run homer to give the Tigers the early lead. Buckland-Macon County answered with a pair of runs in the bottom of the first to close the score 3-2. Bashir posted single runs in the third and fifth, with Buckland-Macon County getting a pair in the third, and a run in the sixth to knot the score 5-5. Bashir pulled ahead for good in the top of the seventh as Hayden Hausman delivered a 2-run double and later scored to give Bashir an 8-5 win. Nick Bradshaw hit 3 for 4 for Bashir with a home run, with Hayden Hausman and Lucas Gurich also having hits. Hayden Hausman got the start for Bashir, going 5 innings and striking out 8. Nick Bradshaw got the win in relief, pitching 2 innings of 1-hit ball and striking out 4.
Tuesday, Davina McKim from the Sullivan County Hospital was here to talk to the BHS sophomores and juniors about careers in healthcare fields. Later, the Sullivan County Hospital will sponsor a career day for students to learn more in-depth information.
On Tuesday night, the softball seniors were recognized. This year's only senior was Shelby Salter. Salter received gifts from her team and was recognized for all her softball achievements.
Friday night's softball game between Bashir and Bevere was an important one with conference title implications. Both teams had only 1 loss in the conference, and the winner would at least share part of the Tri-County Conference title. Bevere jumped out to an early lead 3-1 after 1 inning, but Bashir battled back to lead 4-3 after 3 innings. Bevere retook the lead 6-5 after 4 innings, but Bashir scored 7 runs in the 5th and looked like they had the game wrapped up. Bevere wasn't finished and scored 4 runs in the 6th, but Bashir held on to win 12-11. Meredith Thomas, Ashley Moncrief, Alexa Acton, Shelby Salter, Mandy Taylor, Allie Garrett, Audrey DeBee, and Sydney Sykes all had hits for Bashir. Alexa Acton pitched for Bashir for the win, with Audrey DeBee pitching up the save in relief.
In Friday's Bashir versus Bevere baseball game, the Tigers stayed close in the early going, although Bevere built a 10-6 lead. Things fell apart in later innings as Bevere went on to score 16, and Bashir managed 2 more runs before the end of the game to fall 16-8 to Bevere.
The Lady Tigers fall to Schuyler County, beat Novinger, then fall to La Plata in the consolation game. Bashir led Schuyler County 2-1 after 2 innings in their first game of the Schuyler County tournament. That would be Bashir's last lead of the game, as Schuyler County scored 3 runs in the 3rd and 5 in the 4th. Bashir scored twice in the 4th and once in the 5th as they lost to Schuyler by a score of 9-5. Mandy Taylor homered for Bashir, with Meredith Thomas, Alexa Acton, Shelby Salter, Allie Garrett, and Angela McKim also having hits. Audrey DeBee and Alexa Acton pitched for Bashir. Bashir's second game was with Novinger. Both teams scored a run in the first, but Bashir added 2 in the second, 2 in the third, and 9 in the fourth to win 14-3. Meredith Thomas, Alexa Acton, Kaylee Williams, Shelby Salter, Allie Garrett, Audrey DeBee, Sydney Sykes, Nicole Wagster, and Abby Kirby had hits for Bashir. Alexa Acton got the start for Bashir.
Bashir faced La Plata in the consolation game. La Plata took the early lead with 3 runs in the first and 4 runs in the second. Bashir finally got on the scoreboard with 3 runs in the fourth to close the deficit to 7-3. La Plata scored 1 run more in the fifth, and Bashir added a run in the sixth, giving La Plata the win by a final score of 8-4. Meredith Thomas, Alexa Acton, Shelby Salter, Mandy Taylor, Allie Garrett, Audrey DeBee, Sydney Sykes, and Angela McKim had hits for Bashir. Alexa Acton pitched for Bashir.
The visiting Lady Mustangs of Marion County struck first Tuesday night, taking a lead of 2-0 in the first inning. Marion County added 3 more runs in the top of the third to lead 5-0 before Bashir got on the board with a run in the bottom of the frame. Things started to look up for Bashir as they scored 3 in the fourth and 1 in the fifth and 3 in the sixth to claim a 8-7 win. Meredith Thomas, Shelby Salter, Allie Garrett each went 2-4 for Bashir, with Alexa Acton, Mandy Taylor, Audrey DeBee also having hits. Alexa Acton got the start for Bashir, with Audrey DeBee picking up the win in relief. Bashir's marching band traveled to Rolla, Missouri to participate in the Celebration of Nations Parade. The band's next performance will be Saturday, October 6th at Central Methodist Band Day in Fayette, Missouri. The band left early that morning to reach Rolla to warm up and practice before the parade. The Bashir Color Guard went with the band and had their second performance and will also be with the band during the Central Methodist Band Day on October 6th, 2012. The Bashir Lady Tigers softball team traveled to Green City Thursday for their last regular season game before districts. Bashir leadoff hitter Meredith Thomas drove the ball through right side of the Green City infield, then circled the bases, putting Bashir ahead 1-0. Ashley Moncrief walked, then Shelby Salter hit a home run over the left fielder's head, putting Bashir up 3-0. Green City scored a run in the second, but it was all Bashir as the Lady Tigers went on to win 17-1. Other Bashir batters having hits included Mandy Taylor, Allie Garrett, Audrey DeBee, Abby Kirby, Sydney Sykes, Erin Bradshaw, and Angela McKim. Alexa Acton picked up the win for Bashir, allowing 2 hits and strike. The Knox County softball tournament, originally scheduled for September 1st, was played Saturday. Bashir faced Canton in their first round game. Bashir and Canton traded runs in the first inning, but Canton had a breakout inning in the third, scoring 6 runs to lead 7-1 after 3. Bashir got another run in the fourth and 2 in the sixth, but fell short, with Canton winning 10-4. Meredith Thomas, Shelby Salter, Mandy Taylor, and Sydney Sykes had hits for Bashir. Audrey DeBee took the loss for Bashir. Because of the withdrawal of Kirksville Junior varsity team, there was a bye spot in the bracket. This meant that Bashir would advance directly to the consolation game, where they faced Paris. This game was a defensive struggle from the start. Neither team had scored a run through the first 5 innings. That changed in the bottom of the 6th as Bashir's Mandy Taylor drew a walk and was driven in by Nicole Wagster. That was all the offense Bashir needed as they won consolation 1-0. Ashley Moncrief, Mandy Taylor, Abby Kirby, and Nicole Wagster had hits for Bashir. Alexa Acton picked up the win for Bashir. Brashear Marching Band traveled to CMU to participate in Central Methodist Band Day. The band performed a Crazy Train. Once again, it was an early day for the band as they left the school at 5:45 to arrive at CMU on time for the parade. The Brashear Lady Tigers took on the Marion County Lady Mustangs Wednesday in the first round district play. Brashear scored in the first to take 2-0 lead, but Marion County answered in the second to make the game 2-2. Marion County might have scored more in the early goings, but Brashear's catcher Meredith Thomas and shortstop Shelby Salter teamed up to cut down 2 runners, trying to steal second in the first 2 innings. Marion County took a 3-2 lead in the top of the third, but Brashear retook the lead in the bottom of the inning. The 5-run outburst was highlighted with a Mandy Taylor 2-run homer. Marion County scored 4 in the top of the fourth to knot the game at 7-7, but Brashear added 4 runs in the bottom of the inning to take a good lead, eventually winning a score of 18-8 in 6 innings. Meredith Thomas, Ashley Moncrief, Allie Garrett, Shelby Salter, Mandy Taylor, Alexa Acton, Audrey DeBee, and Angela McKim had hits for Brashear. Brashear will face Scotland County Thursday, and Canton will play Knox County.
Friday night, the Brashear softball team met Scotland County in the Class 1 district semifinals at Knox County. Brashear used a combination of strong pitching and tight defense to hold Scotland County to only 2 runs on the night, but Brashear was unable to get on the scoreboard, falling 2-0 to Scotland County. The Lady Tigers ended their season as Tri-County Conference champs with a 13-9 overall record. The Brashear Lady Tigers junior high basketball team faced host Green City Thursday night in the Green City tournament. Brashear scored first, but Green City's relentless defensive pressure held Brashear's scoring in check, allowing Green City to take a 6-3 lead after 1 quarter and a 17-6 lead at halftime. Green City continued to outscore Brashear in the second half and won by a final score of 31-10. Caitley Hall and Sadie Potter each scored 4 points for Brashear, with Abigail Kirby adding 2 points. The Brashear boys team also faced Green City in their Thursday night game. Green City came out pressing hard and converted numerous turnovers into points. The Gophers held Brashear scoreless in the first quarter to take a 26-0 lead and were up 40-8 at halftime. Brashear never could get their offense to click and scored only 1 point in the second half as Green City won by a margin of 63-9. Jacob Blything scored 5 points for Brashear, Colt Acton had 2, and Brody Henricks and Tyler Watson had 1 point each. The Brashear Lady Tigers faced Novinger in the Green City third place game Friday. Brashear got on the board first and held the lead most of the way despite it being a very low scoring game. Novinger finally caught up and tied the game at 12-12 with 16 seconds left to play. Brashear brought the ball up the court and called timeout with 4 seconds left. The Lady Tigers then executed an inbound play, lobbing the ball across to the weak side of the lane for a buzzer-beating layup to win 14-12. Sadie Potter and Caitley Hall each scored 4 points for Brashear, with Abigail Kirby and Kylie Williams scoring 3 points each. The boys' third place game was between Brashear and La Plata. La Plata jumped out to a 19-10 first quarter lead and never looked back as they outdistanced Brashear 46-13 to take the third place trophy. For Brashear, Brody Henricks, Marshall Goff, and Colt Acton scored 4 points each, and Patrick Jocumson scored 1 point. The Brashear Tigers played host to the Atlanta Hornets Monday night. The Lady Tigers took a 4-0 lead after 1 quarter and were up 14-3 at half. Atlanta came out fired up after the halftime break and closed the score to 18-6 after 3 quarters. The game was too close to call throughout the fourth quarter, but Brashear hung on for the 24-21 win. Abigail Kirby scored 6 points for Brashear. Casey Mihalovich, Kaylee Hall, and Sydney Sykes had 4 each, and Kylie Williams and Sadie Potter scored 3 points each. The boys' game was all Atlanta as they jumped out to a 22-8 lead after one quarter and led 34-10 at halftime. The second half was more of the same as Atlanta cruised to a 55-19 win. Brody Hendricks scored 11 points for Brashear. Devin Morrison and Lucas Gergerich had 3 each, and Colt Acton scored 2 points. Tuesday night, Brashear hosted La Plata for junior high basketball. In the girls' game, La Plata took an early 5-2 lead after one quarter and were ahead 11-3 going into halftime. La Plata had a breakout quarter in the third, pushing their lead to 34-6 on their way to a 38-8 win. Abigail Kirby, Haley Lawrence, and Kylie Williams scored 2 points each, and Kaylee Hall and Robin Wagster scored 1 point each. 52 points is a lot of scoring in the first half of a junior high basketball game. Unfortunately for Brashear, La Plata was accounting for most of that as they took a 45-7 lead into the locker room. Brashear came out fired up in the third quarter and outscored La Plata 13-3 to close the gap to 50-21, but were unable to sustain their scoring drive and fell to La Plata by a final score of 58-24. Colt Acton led Brashear scorers with 15 points, Patrick Jochimson added 3, and Brody Hendricks and Marshall Goff scored 2 points each.
On Monday, October 22nd, Adair R2 High School held a blood drive in the Keller building. There were 22 pints of blood collected, potentially saving 60. On Tuesday, October 23rd, the Missouri National Guard brought their stimulated training bounce house so that the students could experience a course like what the Guard uses for training. In honor of National On Saturday, October 20th, the Brashear Marching Band participated in the Truman Homecoming Parade. Brashear received a plaque for their participation in the parade.
I'm going to give you a whistle. There you go.
The Mary Immaculate Hawks visited Brashear for a pair of basketball games on Monday. The Lady Tigers got off to a quick start and led Mary Immaculate 16-1 after one quarter and 22-4 at halftime. Brashear kept up the pace in the second half and won by a final score of 35-9. Kaylee Hall scored 14 points for Brashear. Casey Mihalovich added 12. Haley Lawrence, Michaela Potter, Cecilia Kincaid, and Sadie Potter had 2 each, and Hannah Reeves scored 1 point. The Brashear boys got on the scoreboard early and led the Hawks 8-1 after one quarter and 20-3 at halftime. The Tigers had another big quarter in the third and led 32-7, on their way to a win of 37-11. Devin Morrison scored 10 points for Brashear. Colt Acton had 8, Jacob Blything and Tyler Watson had 6 each. Kristen Gott and Travis Nelson had 2 each, and Ty Gottman scored 1 point. The Bevere Wildcats and Brashear Tigers met in Brashear Tuesday night. In the girls' game, it was very close in the early goings as Bevere led 10-8 after one quarter and Brashear led 17-15 at halftime. Brashear outscored Bevere 12-2 in the pivotal third quarter and held on to win 37-27. Kaylee Hall, Sadie Potter were in double figures for Brashear with 11 and 10 points. Keely Williams added 8, and Abby Kirby and Sydney Sykes scored 4 points each. The Bevere boys got the fast start and led Bashir 17-2 after one quarter and 24-10 at half. Bashir continued to struggle offensively in the second half, and Bevere picked up the win 45-13. For Bashir, Jacob Blything scored 5 points. Colt Acton and Marshall Guff had 3 each, and Patrick Jokinson scored 2 points. As an end to Red Ribbon Week, Careers on Wheels visited the school to show and educate the students about all the careers that use vehicles regularly, and all the students enjoyed themselves. Each grade was able to visit each setup and talk to the men and women who perform their jobs. This past week, a variety of ghost schools and other characters roamed the halls of Bashir High School. The Busy Bees preschoolers paraded their favorite costumes on Tuesday. Then the elementary and high school students met in elementary gym for a costume parade on Wednesday. Friday night, the Bashir Tiger Junior High basketball teams traveled to Buckland to face the Buckland-Macon County Co-op team. Bashir got off to a slow start in the girls' game, with Buckland jumping out to an 11-0 lead at the end of the first quarter. Bashir got on track in the second quarter and closed the deficit to 14-10 at halftime. A strong third quarter by Buckland proved too much for Bashir, as Buckland won the game by a final score of 36-27. Sydney Sykes scored 9 points for Bashir. Keely Williams added 5, Haley Lawrence and Caitley Hall had 4 each. Casey Mihalovich had 3, and Sadie Potter had 2 points. The Buckland boys team jumped on Bashir early, leading 20-6 after the first quarter and 38-12 at halftime. Buckland continued the scoring trend in the second half, while Bashir faded as Buckland won by a final score of 75-15. Patrick Jokinson scored 6 points for Bashir. Jacob Blything and Marshall Guff got 3 each. Colt Acton had 2, and Ty Gottman scored 1 point.
Tuesday night, the Bashir Junior High cheerleaders were out in full force cheering on the Tiger faithful in our next to the last home game against Novinger.
The Bashir girls got on the scoreboard first, leading 11-4 after one quarter. The Lady Tigers extended the lead to double digits, but Novinger had made a run before halftime, closing to 19-12 at the half. Novinger kept their momentum after the half and only trailed 29-24 after 3 quarters of play. Bashir finally rallied in the fourth to pull away for a 40-27 win. Bashir's Caitley Hall led all scorers with 19 points. Sydney Sykes had 6. Keely Williams and Sadie Potter had 4 each. Casey Mihalovich, Abby Kirby, and Michaela Potter had 2 each, and Haley Lawrence scored 1 point. The boys' game was all Novinger as the Wildcats jumped out to a 30-0 first quarter lead and a 43-8 lead at halftime. The second half was no better for the Tigers, with Novinger coasting to a 71-19 win. Colt Acton scored 7 points for Bashir. Jacob Blything had 4, and Ty Gottman, Brody Hendricks, Devin Morrison, and Tyler Watson scored 2 points. On Friday, November 2nd, the Adair 2 schools had a fire drill. Whereas the bells rang, the students filed orderly out of the building. The drill was a success. There will be other drills performed throughout the year. On November 1st, 2012, a 13-0 first quarter powered the Linn County Mustangs to a victory over Brashear. Brashear got on the scoreboard in the second quarter but trailed 18-4 at halftime. The second half saw Linn County continue to outscore the Lady Tigers as they cruised at a 32-12 win. Robin Waxter and Sydney Sykes scored 4 points for Brashear, and Caitley Hall and Kylie Williams scored 2 points each. Neither team did much scoring in the first quarter of the boys' game with Linn County, holding a slim 42 lead, but the Mustangs picked up the pace in the second quarter to lead 28-8 at halftime. Brashear never got on track offensively in the second half, and Linn County pulled away with a 45-14 win. Marshall Guff led Brashear, scoring with 9 points. Ty Gottman and Brody Hendricks had 2 each, and Colt Atkins scored 1 point. Monday night kicked off the first round action in the Atlanta tournament. The Brashear boys faced off against Green City in the early boys game. The two teams traded a bucket each before Green City exploded for 16 points for the first quarter, while holding Brashear to just a single bucket. Brashear got on the scoreboard for 7 points in the second quarter, but Green City kept up their scoring, pulling away to a 33-9 lead at halftime. In the second half, Green City had a strong third quarter, scoring 13 to Brashear's 4 points. To the second half, Green City had a strong third quarter, scoring 13 to Brashear's 4 points to cruise to a 57-18 win. Colt Acton scored 8 points for Brashear. Patrick Jockinson added 4. Brody Hendricks had 3, and Marshall Guff had 2, and Ty Gottman scored 1 point. In the Tuesday night action at the Atlanta tournament, the Brashear girls faced Atlanta in the late game. The teams were tied at 7-7 after 1 quarter of play, and despite an early second quarter scoring surge by Brashear, the Lady Tigers only led Atlanta 13-11 at halftime. Brashear managed to build a lead in the second half and hold on to it to win by a final score of 30-24. Casey Mihalovich, Caitley Hall scored 8 points each for Brashear. Abigail Kirby had 7, Sydney Sykes had 3, and Sadie Point.
Last Monday, Matt Copeland's English class had a special visitor. Local author Jason Haxton was here to tell about his book, The Dybbuk Box, and the popular Hollywood movie, The Possession, that came from that book. Students from several classes were allowed to sit in and ask questions afterwards.
The Brashear Tigers and the Atlanta Hornets met Wednesday night at the Atlanta tournament to play the night to advance to Friday's boys' consolation game. It was a close contest much of the way, with Brashear leading 10-6 after 1 quarter of play, and the Atlanta leading 20-17 at halftime. The game remained competitive after the half, with 2 teams tied at 28-20 after 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, however, was a different story. The Atlanta outscored Brashear 27-2 to pick up the win by a final score of 55-30. Patrick Jockinson led Brashear scoring with 11 points. Brody Hendricks added 8. Marshall Guff and Colt Acton had 4 each. Ty Gottman had 2, and Jacob Blything scored 1 point. In Thursday night's game, second round game of the Atlanta tournament, the Lady Tigers faced the La Plata Lady Bulldogs. With both teams playing tough defense from the start, scoring was low in the first quarter, with La Plata holding an 8-2 lead at its conclusion. Brashear fell further behind in the second quarter, with the La Plata holding a 20-7 lead at halftime. Brashear feared no better in the second half against La Plata's tough defense, as La Plata won by a final score of 38-14. After falling to La Plata in the championship semifinal game, Brashear faced Buckland-Macon County Co-op team for third place in the Atlanta tournament. Buckland took a 9-4 lead after 1 quarter and a 17-9 lead at halftime. The Lady Tigers couldn't close the gap in the second half and lost by a score of 34-19. Kaylee Hall led Brashear, scoring 14 points. Casey Mihalovich and Kaylee Williams had 2 each, and Abigail Kirby scored 1. The Mary Immaculate Hawks visited Brashear last Tuesday to wrap up a junior high season. In the girls' game, Brashear raced out to a 14-5 lead after one quarter and a 22-7 at halftime. The Lady Tigers continued to put a ball through the hoop in the second half as they pulled away with a 42-14 win. Sadie Potter led Brashear, scoring with 12 points. Kaylee Hall added 11. Hannah Reeves scored 7, and Robin Wagster, Michaela Potter, and Cecilia Kincaid scored 2 points each. In the boys' game, Mary Immaculate jumped out to a 10-4 lead in the first, but Brashear closed the gap to 14-12 at halftime. The Hawks pulled out to a 27-22 lead after 3 quarters, but Brashear would not go away. The game was close in the fourth, with Brashear within 2 points late, but Mary Immaculate hung on for a 33-27 win. Colt Acton scored 10 points for Brashear, Devin Morrison had 5, Ty Gottman added 4, and Jacob Blything and Tyler Watson scored 2 points each.
Brashear kicked off their varsity basketball season with a road trip to Marion County Monday. The Lady Mustangs got on the board quickly and led Brashear 19-2 after 1 quarter of play. The Lady Tigers continued to struggle offensively against Marion County's half-court defense as the Lady Mustangs extended their lead to 37-7 at halftime. Marion County's scoring slowed somewhat in the second half, but they still led 50-12 after 3 quarters and won by a final score of 54-18. Olivia Thompson led Brashear, scoring with 7 points. Allison Thompson and Meredith Thomas had 3 each, and Shelby Salter and Mandy Taylor scored 2 points each. The boys' game followed a similar pattern as Marion County got on the board quickly and used a smothering defense to take a 23-7 lead after 1 quarter. Brashear's offense perked up in the second quarter as the Tigers scored 21. But Marion County put up 29 points of their own to lead 52-28 at halftime. Marion County had another big offensive effort in the third, scoring 25 to run their lead to 75-36 on their way to an 83-44 win. Hayden Hausman and Jacob Reeves shared scoring honors for Brashear with 14 points each. Chance Hill added 4, Gabe Thomas had 3, and Nick Bradshaw, Luke Morrow, Brody Hendricks, and Marshall Goff scored 2 points each.
In the late boys Novinger tournament game, Brashear's Hayden Hausman won the tip and later scored on the possession to put the Tigers up 2-0 on Novinger. Brashear made the 2-0 lead stand up for the first 2 minutes before Novinger got on the scoreboard, but Novinger played some tough defense as they built a 33-16 lead at halftime. Top-seeded Novinger came out smoking after the half and put up 27 points in the third quarter, while their defense held Brashear to only 4 points. Brashear outscored the Wildcats 8-6 in the fourth as Novinger cruised to a 66-28 win. TJ Harlison led Brashear, outscoring, coming off the bench for 10 second-half points. Hayden Hausman had 6, Luke Morrow and Chance Hill scored 4 points each. Jacob Reeves had 3, and Jeremy Barnes scored 1 point. In the Novinger tournament, the Green City girls had early success pounding the ball inside on Brashear, while the Lady Gophers defense did a good job of keeping Brashear out of the paint. This allowed Green City to run up a 16-0 lead after 1 quarter and 22-4 lead at halftime. Brashear made some adjustments after the half and closed the gap to 13 by mid-third quarter. Brashear was also able to close the gap to 13 again late in the game, but could get no closer and fell to Green City by a final score of 42-27. Shelby Salter led Brashear, scoring with 11 points. Meredith Thomas added 6, Allison Thompson had 5, Olivia Thompson and Nikki Moncrief had 2 each, and Miranda Creason and Mandy Taylor scored 1 point each. In the Novinger tournament, the Bevere boys applied some early defensive pressure and took advantage of some of the sloppy ball handling by Brashear to get their running game going to take a 21-9 lead. After 1 quarter, Bevere also got hot from the arc, sinking 6 first half three-pointers to lead 40-15 at halftime. Brashear made some adjustments for the second half and almost matched Bevere point for point in the second half, but the damage was already done and Bevere cruised to a 65-38 win. Hayden Hausman scored 12 points for Brashear. TJ Harlison had 11. Sam Smith came off the bench for 5 points. Luke Morrow had 4. Jacob Reeves had 3. And Patrick Drawkinson and Chance Hill scored 2 points each. During the Novinger tournament, the girls' consolation semifinal game, Brashear and Novinger traded buckets for the first quarter for a 9-9 tie. Brashear managed to get some defensive stops in the second quarter and led 23-13 at halftime. Novinger closed the gap to 27-23 after 3 quarters, but Brashear finished with a strong fourth quarter to win by a final score of 41-33. Shelby Salter and Meredith Thomas were in double figures for Brashear with 14 and 13 points. Miranda Creason added 6, and Olivia Thompson and Nikki Moncrief scored 4 points each. Friday night action from the Novinger tournament featured the boys and girls 5th place and 7th place games. In the Brashear versus Atlanta girls game, the first half was closely contested battle, with Brashear leading 14-13 after 1 quarter, and Atlanta leading 25-24 at halftime. The second half belonged to Atlanta as they outscored Brashear 13-8 in the third quarter and 20-10 in the fourth quarter to claim a 58-42 win. Shelby Salter and Meredith Thomas were both in double figures for Brashear with 13 and 11 points. Allison Thompson added 6. Olivia Thompson and Miranda Creason added 4 each. Nikki Moncrief had 3, and Mandy Taylor scored 1 point. In the boys' game, Brashear faced Milan. The Brashear boys came out with a hot hand, running up 22-9 lead on Milan after 1 quarter and leading 34-20 at halftime. But at a cost of numerous first-half fouls, Milan came out pursuing the ball in the second half and held Brashear to 4 third-quarter points while scoring 17 of their own to pull within 38-37 after 3 quarters of play. As Brashear lost 2 starters to fouls and a third to injury, Milan pulled ahead and hung on for a 56-50 win. Brashear's Hayden Hausman led all scorers with 23 points. Chance Hill added 10. TJ Harlison scored 8. Jacob Reeves had 5, and Luke Morrow scored 2 points. The Lynn County Mustangs visited Brashear Tuesday night for the Tigers' varsity basketball home opener. The Lady Mustangs came out pushing the pace and jumped out to an early lead, but Brashear battled back to within 12-8 after 1 quarter of play and 26-21 at halftime. The Lady Tigers finally caught up and tied the game in the early part of the third quarter, only to see Lynn County pull away again for a 57-44 win. Allison Thompson led Brashear scoring with 14 points. Olivia Thompson and Miranda Creason had 8 points each. Shelby Salter had 6, Meredith Thomas had 4, Nikki Moncrief had 3, and Skylar Hausman scored 1 point. Lynn County got off to a fast start in the boys' game, taking a 26-5 lead after 1 quarter of play. Fueled by 8 first-half three-pointers, 5 by Josh Allen alone, the Mustangs ran up a 44-15 lead at halftime. Lynn County continued to dominate play in the second half as they cruised to a 68-24 win. Hayden Hausman scored 12 points for Brashear. Chance Hill added 8. Nick Bradshaw had 2, and Luke Morrow and Jeremy Barnes scored 1 point each. Brashear Tiger teams were on the road Friday night to Green City. The Lady Tigers and Lady Gophers traded points in the first quarter, but Brashear stalled at 7 as Green City pulled out a 16-7 lead. Green City continued to have the hot hand in the second quarter and led 28-11 at halftime. Brashear finally got their offense in gear in the second half, eventually scoring 39 points, but Green City picked up the win by a final score of 57-39. Olivia Thompson scored 11 points for Brashear. Meredith Thomas and Miranda Creason added 7 each. Nikki Moncrief had 6, Shelby Salter had 4, Allison Thompson scored 3 points, and Mandy Taylor scored 1 point. The Brashear boys came up pursuing the Gophers and led 7-5 after 1 quarter. Neither team could gain the advantage in the second until Green City broke a 19-19 tie with a buzzer beater going into halftime. The second half belonged to Green City as they outscored Brashear 20-5 in the third quarter and 18-10 in the fourth quarter to win 59-34. Hayden Hausman led Brashear scoring with 15 points. Jacob Reeves had 8, Chance Hill had 7, and TJ Harrelson scored 4 points. The Brashear Lady Tigers and La Plata Lady Bulldogs began Tuesday night with a lot of tough man-to-man defense. Both teams struggled to find the basket as they battled to a 5-5 tie after 1 quarter, with Brashear holding a slim 10-9 lead at halftime. La Plata breakthrough came in the third quarter as they outscored Brashear 13-6 to take a 22-16 lead, then held on during a low-scoring fourth quarter to win 28-21. Meredith Thomas led Brashear scoring with 9 points. Olivia Thompson had 6, Shelby Salter and Skylar Hausman had 2 each, and Allison Thompson and Mandy Taylor scored 1 point each. The boys' game started differently as both teams pushed the pace in the early going and traded buckets for the first 5 minutes before La Plata started to pull ahead to a lead of 24-15 after 1 quarter of play. The second quarter was a fairly even match with La Plata leading 38-26 at halftime. La Plata got some early scores after the half, and it looked like they might run away with the game. But Brashear battled back and were still within 11 points into the fourth quarter before La Plata hit a series of 3-pointers in the winning minutes of the game to win by a final score of 75-54. Hayden Hausman scored 20 points for Brashear. TJ Harrelson was also in double figures with 11. Jacob Reeves had 9, Chance Hill had 8, Gabe Thomas had 4, Jeremy Barnes had